Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 257 of a year of change. A lot of stuff happened this week. Not on my end so much, but generally on Thursdays try to do a news story or, something about a study, something all sciencey and interesting. And there was a whole bunch of stuff that went on this week. There was, we'll get to some of the other stuff. I won't get to exactly what I'm going to talk about in a bit, or I'm not going to, you know what I mean. That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm not going to talk about these first couple of subjects, but they are related to what I'm talking about later. Anyway, first and foremost, there was a story that the incidences of, or new cases of diabetes is actually going down, which is nice. Back in 2009, there were roughly 1.7 million cases per year of new cases of type 2 diabetes. And that has gone down this year to 1.4 million. It's quite a bit, actually. When you think about it, there's still 300,000. I mean, these are new cases. This isn't just overall people that have it. But the amount of new cases are sort of slowing down a bit. And I think that's sort of generally, they were theorizing anyway. It's not a correct word. They hypothesize, that's a better word, that it's because people are a little more health conscious now, and they're trying to cut back on the amount of sugar, and they're trying to get healthier and lose weight and stuff like that. And all those messages sort of getting out there are actually, they're finally sinking in. There was another one, though, that we talked about this before, a couple of times, actually, so that's part of the reason why I'm not going to delve really deeply into it, was the sugar tax. And this is a tax that people have been looking at putting on like soft drinks and stuff like that. And they're looking at it again in the UK, and it's starting to build some steam. And they're looking at it saying, well, you know what? It's worked in Mexico because they added a 10% tax there, and it cut the consumption down by 6%. Of course, some people are still complaining and saying, well, this is our right. We should be able to eat whatever we want. And yeah, I agree with that. But on the other hand, it's a drain on the health service. So you are costing a shit ton of money to the rest of the country. All the other people that are out there. So, I'm for a sugar tax anyway, across the board in every country. I figure it's just, we are a drain. We've had this discussion before, so I'm not going to delve too deeply into it. But starting to build steam again because they're starting to look at it. There's another one about, there was a study about people cracking their knuckles. Because they've always wondered, I don't have my voice. They knew it was something to do with a fluid in your joints, but they didn't know if it was forming the bubble that caused it or the pop of the bubble that caused it. But apparently they did a thing on ultrasound, and it's the forming of the bubble that caused it. So when you go, oh, I did nothing. Shit. I can't do it at all. There we go. There's one. That is a bubble forming. I'm going to break my fingers off. Anyway, it's a bubble forming, and that's what causes the pop. Completely unrelated to diet or food or health or anything else. I just thought it was interesting. But the main thing that I wanted to talk about was Cheerios is in trouble. The cereal people. General Mills has got a lawsuit on their hands. And basically what's happened was, in general, breakfast cereals have sort of been slowly, their sales anyway, have slowly been dropping over the past few years. Used to be that, they were just marketed to kids all the time. It was like sugary cereals and, with Tricks and Lucky Charms and Frosted Flakes and everything else was just geared towards kids. Because parents usually don't give a shit anyway. Not about their kids, they just don't give a shit about cereal. In general. Calm the fuck down. I'm not saying everybody. Grow up. But in general, adults don't care. They want something that is going to be at least fairly nutritious that, they're going to go through. Yeah, it's not complete garbage. We're going to get it for the kids because they want it. So everything was really sort of geared towards kids. And that's sort of fallen by the wayside the past few years. That's really waned quite a bit. So what the cereal companies have been doing to try to sort of offset that is they're now appealing to the people that actually purchase the cereal. Instead of appealing to the kids and saying, well, sugar, they've been really sort of saying, well, this is more, there's more iron or there's more bran and, more fiber and all the other stuff. So generally that's what people are buying. Now the problem is that Cheerios started up a new variety called Cheerios Protein a while back. And what they found, they said, oh, well, there's extra protein in this. So of course people went, oh, it must be healthier. It's Cheerios and they're low in everything. And so I might as well buy that because this has extra protein in it. And there's a group in the States, I'm going to forget, I wrote this down, but I'm going to see if I can remember it. The Center for Health in the Public, is not what it's called. Center for Science in the Public Interest. Is that right? Center for Science in the Public Interest. Yes, I remembered. Anyway, what they did, they went and they started taking a look at the nutrition labels. I don't know what prompted them to sort of look at just Cheerios, but this is what they looked at. So they started looking at the nutritional labels and saying, okay, well, this says it has more protein and blah, 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 and everything else. But they did find there were a few discrepancies in there. And what they found was that, yes, it had more protein, but the serving size was much, much larger. The serving size for the protein one was around 55 grams, and the one for regular Cheerios is in the 20s, I want to say. We'll say 29 grams just to be safe. All right, so a little less than twice the amount. So when they started actually saying, okay, well, let's do the math and start comparing the amount of protein that's in the Cheerios protein and the regular stuff that's in Cheerios, they found that it's negligible. There's some protein in there, but because the serving size is so much larger, then yes, they can say, oh, there's much more protein in a serving of these Cheerios. But the serving on this is twice as big as the serving on regular sized Cheerios. But the thing that really sort of struck them was that the regular Cheerios have about 1 gram of sugar per serving. All right, so whatever their serving is, 29 grams, we'll say to be safe. On the protein ones, it was 17 grams. So what that means that even if this was twice the size, then there's 8 times as much sugar in the health food one, bunny quotations, in the protein version of the Cheerios thing. So, of course, they've now opened this class action lawsuit against General Mills saying you're fucking with people. Because a lot of us, there's 2 arguments to this. My chair's really squeaky. I'm going to try to cut that out. Anyway, there's 2 sides to this argument. One side, of course, and this is what the food producers are generally saying, is that, you know what, no, we put the information on there. The onus is on the consumer. The information is on there. If you want to know how much is in there, take a look at it, read it, find out how much a gram of sugar is compared to other things. It's your responsibility. And in some ways, I do agree with them on that one, because we've started doing that. We've started looking at fat and sugar and sodium and all the other stuff. And so, yes, the responsibility is on us to really sort of pay attention to what we're doing. But there is the other side of that as well, that they've been trying to do for a very, very long time, and they still think they're years away from actually getting anyone to sign off on this, is to have nutrition labels so that they're uniform, that there's some consistency. So that it doesn't matter what you're looking at, they're saying, no, this is a 100-gram serving, this is like across the board. You have to list absolutely everything. There are some that are saying, well, put the sugar in teaspoons, which doesn't make any sense because they don't put fat in teaspoons or sodium in teaspoons or anything else. Or the amount of added sugar, just so that they want people to say, oh, well, there's 4 teaspoons of extra sugar in there. It's not going to make any difference between that and saying 16 grams of sugar or 4 extra teaspoons. People aren't going to make that connection. But by having everything uniform, they'll be able to actually compare things much, much easier. And for that, I do think that's probably a good idea. Because although the responsibility is ours, when we were first starting out, we had no idea what we were doing. We aren't going to look at it and say, oh, well, obviously, if you multiply this by 2.3 and divide this by a zebra, then you combine the two, and if a star is going across the sky at the right time, then we can figure out exactly what the angle is on this one, and that will tell us how many calories are in the exact same serving. There's a lot of math that sort of goes into it, because none of them are the exact same size. And this is sort of the crux of the matter with the lawsuit. And here's the thing. 2 weeks ago? Depending on when you're watching this, a while ago, I had sent something out, and this was another General Mills thing, which is kind of, I don't want to vilify food companies, but holy shit. Really? Like, this is the same company doing this stuff. That they sent out, and it was an average, I don't even follow them on Twitter, and they sent out this tweet, it was an ad, basically, is what it is. It says, oh, it's a sponsored tweet. It's a sponsored tweet, but it's not, it's an ad. So they sent this out, and it was the box of the Pillsbury Pizza Pop things. And they had thrown in an extra chocolate, like a chocolate bar, into the same box, that you got a free chocolate bar when you bought it. And, I understand the marketing behind it, that they go, well, people that are already buying our chocolate bar might now buy these pizza pops because they go, oh, I like the chocolate bar. So that's going to bring more people in that way. And the people that are already buying the pizza pops might go for these because they go, oh, there's an extra chocolate bar in there. So they buy that, and then they might start buying the chocolate bar more. I get it. I understand sort of the thought process behind it. But the problem is, when you're doing stuff like that, it's really hard to sort of defend people that do that, because that's not really underhanded marketing or anything, but you're not helping the situation. So, I mean, the supply and demand argument is there, and so for that, you kind of have to go, okay, I get it. It's the world that we live in. It's not everything is sunshine and roses and unicorn farts. There are some bad things going on there. This is just one of them. But when you're taking things like the Cheerios and the protein Cheerios, which, by the way, have the same amount of protein in them, except 8 times as much sugar in the health food one, and the only reason why why you're able to say, well, this has more protein than this one is because you're tweaking your own numbers for the exact same brand. That's when things get really difficult to try to defend, because those are just really shady, underhanded things that you try to do to say, well, no, look, we're very healthy. This is gonna, if you're health conscious, this is what you need to buy. And of course, I mean, that's the first thing that people are going to go to, especially when you're first starting out and you really don't know what you're doing. When you look at it and say, okay, well, I need protein, I guess, so this is higher in protein than the other one. You're getting 8 times as much sugar. And it's different when, in my head anyway, I think it's different when you're buying like chocolate bars or chips or cookies or biscuits or cake or whatever it is that you're buying, because you know that it's junk food. You know that it's bad for you. I mean, that's why you're buying it. You know it's pretty much just sugar and fat and there's nothing else in it. That, I don't mind that as much because... no, I don't think you could put how many calories are in there and stuff like that, but everyone knows you're just buying a mouthful of flavored sugar. And depending on the flavor, then that's going to determine whether or not you buy it. That much I get. Fine. I don't even think they need to put stuff like that on there. If you're buying a chocolate bar, you aren't caring about how much protein is in there, how much sugar is in there, how much sodium and all the other stuff. You're buying junk food. So enjoy it. Enjoy your junk food. But when you take your own product, and which is essentially the same fucking product, and you tweak the numbers so that it looks better than a regular brand, even though you know that you've just added shit to it. It's the amount of protein that's in there. They could have just even upped the regular Cheerios, or even just put a little note on the Cheerios that say, okay, there's this much protein in a regular serving. It's not much, but at least it's honest. But when you take something like this and say, well, there's, I don't know how much they had for protein. Say, we're going to say 5 grams. It's a tremendous amount, but we're going to say 5 grams per serving. You say 5 grams per serving of protein. Therefore, we're healthy. And you realize, well, it's the same amount as regular Cheerios. You've just added a bunch of stuff in there. Stuff like that is really, really difficult for me to sort of say, well, it's the world we live in, because that is just shady shit all the way around. And, I mean, they've had some issues before, I guess, with them saying, well, putting the little heart shape on the Cheerios box. And they don't even need to make a claim that way. They just need to put a heart somewhere on there. And people go, oh, well, obviously it's healthier for you because there's a heart on it, which means nothing. No, it just means they stuck the bowl in the shape of a heart. It means absolutely nothing. And I don't think that this would bother me as much if it was even a different brand of cereal that was similar to it. And if they said, well, we have more protein, then pick something like Shreddies or Raisin Bran or something. And then they lied about the numbers that way. But they're comparing it to their own product and saying, well, this has so much more in there. And chances are what's happened is that someone just went, well, we have protein in this. We can add a little bit more, but it tastes like shit. He said, well, then dump in a bunch of sugar. It's like, good enough. We're all done. Everything's working, and this is now our new healthy line of Cheerios. So it's stuff like that, I have a really hard time feeling bad for them being sued. I really, really do. So, I mean, I've never been a big fan of Cheerios to begin with. In my head, I think if you like Cheerios, you're probably 6 months old and you're eating them out of a baggie at a high chair or in your car seat. And for those of you that are like, well, I like Cheerios, I stand by my statement. You're probably 6 months old eating them out of a high chair or in your car seat. So, and if you are, then bravo for learning how to use this YouTube. Well done. But in general, I mean, the main reason why I sort of bring this up is that it is in the news. So I'm going to put the links in the description below so you can go in, you can take a look at the news story. The news story came from CBC, which is good. It's a respected news source. I'm also going to put the link to the Center for Science in the Public Interest. Yeah, Center for Science in the Public Interest. To their website as well, which actually has them saying, well, here's why we're suing. Their numbers are a little bit off, though. Because depending on how you word it, and this is the other thing, 8 times as much sugar is bad enough. You don't need to skew it even more. And this sort of goes on against them on their side as well, where it says, oh, there's 17 times as much sugar as there is in regular Cheerios. No. Basically what had happened was they took the 55-gram serving from the protein ones, said, oh, there's 17 grams of sugar. How much is there in one serving of Cheerios? Well, 1 gram. Oh, 17 times as much. Yeah, but you're now doing the exact same thing that you just shit on General Mills for. No, you need to do the math. So even if it's half as much, but the serving is half the size, so you're looking at more like 2 grams for the same size serving. So that's why I say it's 8 times as much sugar as the regular Cheerios, not 17. So there's that. It's, again, you can make your argument, but don't, again, just say, oh, they're terrible, it's 17 times higher. No, you're doing the exact same shit that you're telling us that you're suing them for. So, smart up. Anyway, so I will put the links in the description below, so you can go in, you can take a look at it. It's nothing that's major or groundbreaking, or anything else that has an R in it that I can't apparently pronounce. But just in general, it's sort of, I don't want to say it's a systemic issue. It really isn't. I mean, the vast majority of products that are out there, they're probably like, no, this is what's in there, we're good. But every now and then you will get something like this. And we've seen it before when we started talking about fat. And we saw that if you have something that says low fat or fat free, they've probably dumped in a shit ton of sugar in there just to sort of offset the taste. So I mean, we have to look for that as well. I think it just bothers me because they're comparing it to the same brand. Really, it's the same cereal. It's not even a different cereal. Like, it's not like they're saying, well, these are Cheerios compared to another General Mills cereal, which I don't know what they have. They could have compared it to anything, and they decided, no, this is going to be a new variety. It's just, I don't know. It's really just underhanded tactics is how I view it. And, I mean, whoever's doing their marketing earned their paycheck. Well done, because they didn't quite get away with it. They still might. But in general, it's just sort of no, we can do this, it's fine. It's not really honest, but people aren't going to be paying attention. Because it is difficult when you first start out, especially when you're looking at the different nutrition labels, going, well, this is better, this is low in calorie, and this is high in fat, everything else. Which I think it would be much easier if everything was just standardized, even if it's not a regular serving size. But if they said, this is how much is in 100 grams of everything across the board, even if you don't know how much 100 grams is, at least that way you can compare things accurately, and you can get a good idea. You can sort of contrast them and compare and contrast. There you go. I just think it would make things go much, much easier. But there was something else I was going to bring up, but I can't remember what it is. Probably nothing important. Probably another news story that I heard of. But the main thing was the cereal thing. Because it just sort of, I think it's because it linked to that Pizza Pop thing that I sent out a while ago. I should have actually clarified. I shit on it. I didn't just sort of retweet it and go, hey, look, Pizza Pops and chocolate bars. It's another statement saying it's really hard to defend food companies when they do shit like this. When they're just actively going out of their way to say, and I get it, saying, no, these are two of our products. We want to combine them so that we can sort of start getting more stuff out there. Everybody knows that junk food is out there. You find you don't need to combine the two of them. It does contribute to it. Not to blame them. I'm not fat because of Pillsbury Doughboy or the Pillsbury Doughboy, whatever it is. I'm fat because I eat too much of Pillsbury Doughboy stuff. That's why. Because we've all eaten a tube of cookie dough. We all have. And if you haven't, you've missed out. But we shouldn't start now because it's just like a big shame stick of cookie dough. And we've all gone through it at some point. We've all at least had some cookie dough of some sort. Anyway, I'm not going to try to encourage that because I shouldn't be doing that. I've had a really shitty week of eating anyway. Or last week for the past few days. Got back on track, went out and I got all good stuff for that. Hummus is but I got vegetables and shrimp was on sale, so I bought a whole bunch of shrimp. Shrimp? I can't talk at all. Ugh. Anyway, I think that's probably a cue for me to shut the fuck up. So, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.